So welcome to People and Power Podcast. This is a podcast that comes to you produced by Afrozam Radio. My name is Kusanta Ntangi Chilebe. I'm the host of this program. And on this program, we get to talk to decision makers, change makers, and the people that are shaping our day-to-day lives. So today I'm joined by a man who is a scholar, who has taken keen interest in looking at our country as developed. And we'll be talking about various things ranging from his take on the current political happenings in our country. We'll look at the economy. We'll look at where we're coming from, where we can go, and so much more. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest. He is Mr. Shedon Chanda. Welcome to the program, Mr. Chanda.
Your pleasure is mine. I'm delighted to be here.
It is a pleasure. Mr. Shedon, kindly introduce yourself.
I am Shedon Chanda, born and bred in this little town of Luansa, and I've seen it grow to this level. It is still growing. It's ballooning into some kind of a city in the ultimate. I started primary school right at Megonfa, which is now secondary school, many years ago, because I'm over 60 years. I retired from the public service 2 years ago, and I'm just doing part-time lecturing with two private universities, and of course, even the public university. I do supervise research work amongst those who are doing a Bachelor of Arts degree in education and related programs with education and even humanities.
Okay.
I'm involved in that. That's me.
You are an historian.
Yes, I am.
Let's dig into that a bit. What arose your interest into ensuring that you keep track of where we're coming from?
You know, when I was at Luansa Boys Secondary School many years ago, we had an expatriate teacher by the name of Mr. Ron Shevin. This man had a grip on history. And he was coming to the classroom with, of course, some textbooks for the pupils or students. And each time he stood to talk about or discuss with us the slave trade, the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland, and many topics of interest in history were all held spellbound. And he actually inspired me. I got the jam to become a history student and scholar from Mr. Shevin. He's late, he's so rest in peace, because he was the oldest white expatriate teacher at Luansa Boys then. And he inspired me. Apart from history, I also did literature and English and even language at the University of Zambia. Those were my areas of specialization. History and English language and literature in English. So those are my areas of specialization, because there's also a correlation between history and even literature in English, because there's also a background to literature in English which falls into the rubric of history.
Okay. So now, Mr. Chanda, you being somebody that has been following things that are happening in our country, when you look at where our country is today and where we're coming from, is this where you saw us coming? Have we lived up to expectations, and what do you think we could do better?
I think to some extent, a number of things are working out properly. But when we started out with Dr. Kaunda, there are quite a number of things that Kaunda had envisioned for this republic, which are yet to be fulfilled. Senior Counsel KBF was on this radio station.
Yes. It was on our previous episode. Yeah, it was on our previous episode.
Yes.
Yes.
He was around here.
Yeah.
And I viewed the video where he appeared.
Yes.
And he brought nitty-gritty issues, although certain things that he mentioned, I could not agree with him, of course.
Let's talk about the things that you disagreed from what he was saying.
For instance, the issue of doing away in totality with the donor nations.
Okay.
And even the foreigners, of course. I'm a person, of course, who does not like the Zambian economy to be entrusted in the hands of the foreigners.
Why do you think it's not feasible, his plan?
What?
Why do you think his plan is not workable?
Because we are totally dependent on the Bretton Woods institutions as a country. Talk about the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, International Bank of Reconstruction. Okay, you talk about this bank, and even the IMF as the ones that dictate to us how we should run the economy across Africa and across the world. So as long as these institutions remain under the control, tied to the bootstraps of the superpowers, will still remain in slavery, economic slavery, because we do not have that economic freedom. Because when you don't have economic freedom, then you are denied of what is important to the citizenry. KK had that vision to emancipate Zambia economically. He brought in the Mulungushan material reforms, which was to take Zambia towards the mountain top, high up the mountain, to complete independence. And complete independence meant economic freedom in totality. Of course, in the ultimate, it was not going to be an event because development is a process. Economic development is a process. It is not an event. Just like democracy is a process, it's not an event. So KK did that. Of course, when you talk about Kaunda's vision, there were some people behind him in the kitchen cabinet that he had. You can mention Simon Mwasaka-Pwepe's board friend, Mines Achona State Council, Gray Zulu, Elijah Tokarikaibamba Mudenda, Ruben Stantega Kamanga, Scott Awina, part of the kitchen cabinet.
Yes.
So even John Mpanga Managato, the first Minister of Education at Independence, and Arthur Naturitis Ruben Dawina. These were the ones who were standing behind KK and pushing him so that we could come to the level we're going to be weaned from the brace of the donor countries. But up to now, things have not happened that way because the donors can press a button somewhere and you lose out.
How do we emancipate ourselves from the influence that the donor countries have on us as a people?
But of course, we have developed human resource because at the time of independence, Zambia only had 100 graduates. Some people say 104 graduates. But
Plus or minus 100.
Yes. There were very few graduates, of course. Among them, KK had people who had degrees at the time of independence, like Peter Matoka had a degree. John Mupanga Mwanakato was a first degree holder, even the first man to study education with the University of South Africa by correspondence then, which we call distance education.
Yeah.
So he did it and it became successful. In there, I think 1952, he became the first black person in Northern Rhodesia to attain the degree. And then in the mid-50s, we had Comrade or Honorable Elijah Mdenda also getting degrees. He had his first degree and his master's. Afawina also went to Makerere in the 50s, got his first degree and even his master's. He went to California to study, and there he was doing PhD when he felt duty-bound to get back to Zambia and contribute to the freedom of this country. He was the leader of UNIP branch in America and even around the Caribbean islands. So Mr. Afawina did that. So we have a glut of graduates. You're one of them.
Yes.
You are in the area of environment.
Yes.
And it's a pity that a person like you, who should be at the helm of great organization, steering the wheels so that we can combat global warming and its effects on our economy.
We are a country that is reactive. We're not proactive.
Yes, we're not proactive, that is it. And this is also having telling effects on our national economy by and large. So graduates are being churned out by universities, University of Zambia, CBU, Mulungushi, and these multiple universities mushrooming. Some of them don't even live up to the standards.
Yes.
They don't even offer quality education, but they're churning out mediocre graduates. You will see doctors who can't even understand certain theories.
Yes.
We have them. And there's also those who are learned, they know the theories, but practically they've been failing. And those are what Kaunda used to call educated fools. Because what value are all these graduates adding to this country? Because when you go to university, you must be practical. Because, of course, there is need for wherewithal, the capital,
Yes.
the resources to make somebody innovative, and the labs where one can invent and innovate, of course, certain things. So we don't have such things. But it is incumbent upon Zambians, particularly the young ones like you who are learned, to be innovative, just as you are innovative. I salute you
Thank you
for
very
this
much.
radio station with these others. because it's something that many have failed to do. But it shows your creativity, your resourcefulness, your commitment to change the status quo.
But you know where the problem is? Our system is designed in such a way that for a young and upcoming entrepreneur, it doesn't favor us. We don't get tax breaks. It's very hard to get financing. It's very hard to get resources pouring in.
Yes.
And even our structure, basically, the local authorities will not throw money towards small and upcoming businesses.
Yes, that's the problem.
We need to change the way we do things. We need to change how we operate, basically. How our systems are run, so that it favors more the indigenous entrepreneur.
There is need, forced reform is a mild term, there is need for transformation in the disbursement of the funds to trickle down to people like you who are promising young Zambians, because the future of this country is on your shoulders. It lies within the circle of the youth.
Yes.
Because Empanga.
So there are other people who say manager.
No. Yeah,
They are destructive.
That's why, being a youth at times has got so many challenges. Not everybody who is elderly would respect you.
Yeah.
But you've got the knowledge. And that knowledge can make them learn from you.
Yeah, I'm true.
So you also have an important status in this community. You as youths, you have a very, very influential position to transform this country. Who made the current president to get into plot one?
Social media and the young people.
And the young people.
Social media and the young people.
Social media.
Yes.
So that is, they gave him overwhelming voice because they were tuned into the social media, and in large numbers they turned up in order to change the status.
2026, we're having a general election.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of political players come on the scene. How would you read the current political landscape in the country?
The current political landscape in the country is scaring me because people are not discussing issues. It is rabble-rousing, character assassination, vindictiveness, and it's me to be the leader of this party. So these rivalries in the opposition parties are almost endless. They are incessant, and they're not a good augury for the growth of democracy. And people watch them. What issues are they discussing? Does it border on character assassination of their opponents? Does it border on realities of life? Does it border on practicality and pragmatism in terms of transforming Zambia? Or it borders on greed? Because we have been hijacked even as a country, even as electorate, by people with dubious criminal records, garbed as bishops, garbed as reverends, garbed as what have you. We have all sorts of characters posing to be people that mean well to develop the country. But they have got a pocket agenda. And the main area of interest is to amass wealth at the expense of the electorate. Some of them go to politicians because that this man, now so all those are things that we need to look into. We need to look at all those things because they're not a good augury for democratic growth of this country. Because democracy is still in its nascent stages. We became a multi-party state in 1991, but we're still having a horse-baggy pace to reach.
It's 30-something years. Don't you think we've had enough time for us to settle down and move in unison? Because we've been a multi-party state for 33, 34 years now.
1991.
Yeah.
Just 1990, December. KK amended the law. He signed that law after Parliament had amended it for Zambia to revert to
multipartyism.
Yes, and it became law. So from December 1990 to date, we're still waffling. We're still...
That's 33 years
characters
later.
Assassinating each other. We're still having bitterness against each other, and we can't develop. The party in power, must respect those in opposition. Just like the opposition should respect those that are steering the wheels of statecraft. That is what is going to bring meaningful development. Bitterness consumes the man who is bitter or the woman who is bitter.
So now
Doesn't augur well for development.
I want to find out this,
Yes,
Mr. Shedon.
yes.
When you look at the current state of affairs in our country, what do you think are the three key issues that the average Zambian wants resolved?
Yes.
Like, what are the three key issues that you feel would be important and will play a role come 2026?
On the ballot will be employment. Okay? And on the ballot will be the economy itself, which is actually very broad in the area of the economy. How is the performance? How are the levels of employment? Even when you talk about economy, because it also embraces poverty levels, they are running astronomical. They are skyrocketing. Levels of poverty are skyrocketing. Because we also have borrowed. That is one thing that we should not forget. We owe the credit and nations huge sums of money which should be paid back. Of course, they say that they've done the debt rescheduling, but the debt rescheduling merits are yet to be seen, of course, by the Zambian at the grassroots. So we still have so many things to attend to. And the other issue is, the other one which is going to be on the ballot is health provision. Do the medical institutions have enough drugs?
From your own personal experience, how is the current state of affairs?
The current state of affairs, when you go to the clinics, so many drugs are missing. They are missed. They prescribe, you go to the chemist to buy on your own.
So the people that are running chemists...
That requires government's attention. The Minister of Health and his team should urgently get to the bottom of the problem and sort out the acute shortage of medicine. This also borders on pilfering.
Okay.
Because the degree of honesty amongst the health workers also is questionable, because those who have drugstores and they connive with the staff in the pharmacy, department of pharmacy, and they get those drugs which are for the consumption of those who have notes, but they get to the chemist shops and they are sold, the drugs are sold at inflated prices. So the aspect of health is also going to be on the ballot.
What is your prediction for 2026?
I don't think I can predict for now. I think it is too early to predict. Because, of course, people would gauge, because it's up to Zambians, of course, and I can't call myself somebody who can be likened
you don't have a crystal ball. You can't see the future.
But you can tell that, for instance, the current government, of course, you can tell that in this area they're trying, they're doing well.
Which areas are those?
Of course, they have got that commitment to ensuring that cadreism is minimized. Of course, there's those pockets of cadreism hidden, of course, which we don't see, of course, but there are those pockets of cadreism which are there. And there are also issues to do with infrastructural development. We have seen this road tarred or rehabilitated from the streets here at Civic Center to Luansha Tunnel, and those one leading to Utundola and the other one.
Yes.
So those have been rehabilitated. Of course, we give them a plus for this. But one thing I know is this, that even the PF, when they did the mega projects, like Michael Sata said, upon taking over from Rupia Banda, he said he knew the vision of Life Mwanawasa, and he wants to fulfill what Mwanawasa had left on the drawing board. So those overhead roads we see in Lusaka, and good roads, infrastructure in Lusaka, even the mega shopping malls that we see in Lusaka, were already planned by the MMD government. Of course, Michael Sata and his successor Edgar Lungu did what they could to do to ensure that what Mwanawasa had envisioned with his Minister of Finance, Magande, Peter Magande, Ngandu Peter Magande, was brought into fruition. Of course, they did their level best to do that. Of course, they had left some planned projects unfinished, but they did their level best even to make things work. So, in life, you simply have to build what upon others have left. Because no one would fulfill the vision. I'll get back because I didn't accomplish the vision. No. Because allow others also to start from where you left and build. And even you as president, you're not going to finish what you have envisioned to do for the country because the lapse of time comes in. Because 5 years, we learn faster than your expectations. So it's important that you hurry yourself in ensuring that much of what you envision or you promise the people to do is done at the appropriate time. Even when you leave, people will also clap for what you did and appreciate you. And so it's incumbent upon Zambians, of course, to appreciate the good done by those in government and those preceding regimes, what they did. We need to have a background because the 60 years of independence would make us or should compel us to reflect. And of course, in retrospect and without introspection over what others did in the past, where are we now? What do we need? So there's so many things that are needed. Even the issue of security, of course, in the country is another key factor which may be on the ballot because many lives are insecure. Because joblessness and poverty trigger crime levels and prostitution. And when we were growing up in this little town of Luanshya, the mines were very secure because Kaunda had taken 51%
yes,
of ownership.
Yeah.
The Anglo-Americans and those from the Boer companies had also taken the 49%. But Kaunda's government took 51%. And in the ultimate, KK said, no, I think enough is enough. 1981, 82, he brought in ZCCM, which was a major of Ron Consolidated Copper Mines, RCM, and in Changa Consolidated Copper Mines, NCCM, to make Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines. Now, what used to happen at that time, some of the shafts or mines were not doing well. So those which were doing well were covering,
subsidizing
those others, yes. And the sports were at a higher level in the mining areas, like on this Copper Belt. Copper Belt was actually the stronghold of football, the stronghold of all sports. The best boxers came from here. The best footballers came from here. Royal United, Mufula Wanderers, Changa Rangers, that all those teams can collaborate with those great stars like Ashos Melu, Simon Mwanza, Lox Kalonda, and many, many others, of course. Yeah. So, because the mines were vibrant and they had sports officers. Today we see, even in the council, we had sports officers, but we don't have them anymore. So security is at stake because so many juveniles, so many youths, jobless, they're smoking, they're drinking excessively, they're causing a lot of fights. They're instigating others even to get involved in violence. And this is a time bomb for this country. So security is important. The mines are not secure because we have copper. Copper is a very rich resource. And our economy depends on that because copper is the mainstay of the Zambian economy. So copper, today, of course, the mines are exposed. In the old days, the mine police kept those secure. But now, with the passage of time, when we liberalized the economy, the companies that bought the mine, like Binani in Luanshya, did not do the work to the expectations of the people. And they had to pack and go, leaving the mines in disarray. So the infrastructure was plundered. Pipes were taken. These scrap metal dealers had a field day. So they vandalized the property of the mine. The smelter, which was among the best with that conveyor belt, the longest in Africa, plundered. They all are not there. Because copper was ferried from Baluba mine to the smelter on that conveyor belt. But we don't have it anymore. So all these are areas that can do wonders for us if we were to revitalize them, revive them, and see where they can lead us. Because the potential is there, but what is required is the economic will. Of course, the political will may be there, but there has to be that economic will. And Zambians must take ownership of the resources with responsibility. So even when it comes to setting the mines, the priority must be given to Zambians. I am glad that people like Dr. Sixtus Mlenga, He is involved in mining as a Zambian, and he's doing very, very well. So we need more Zambians to get involved in the mines, and the money will remain in Zambia. It will not be extorted to foreign countries. It will not go to other countries. It will just be here. But I also look at the Bank of China in this country, the Chinese companies. But I wonder whether the Bank of Zambia monitors what gets into the Bank of China, because the Chinese bank, they don't use the Standard Chartered.
No.
They don't use ABSA. They don't use these conventional banks like Access, but they use the Bank of China. But I hope and pray that Danny Kaliaria and this Bank of Zambia have got some monitoring instruments, or even there is that kind of rapport with the Bank of China to see the flow of money from Zambia, which is extorted to China through the Bank of China. Because ownership of the economy must be vested in the people of Zambia. Zambians have got the right to know how much is going out and how much is left into the country.
We have seen former President Edgar Lungu re-emerge on the political scene. What is your take on his getting back into active politics, and what influence or impact do you think is coming back going to have on the 2026 general
because
elections?
he's come back already, has raised some kind of tension within the Patriotic Front itself. And he's entitled to that, as long as it is in line with the constitutional provisions. He's entitled, he's a Zambian. You know, it happened in 1996 when KK, who had handed over the instruments of running UNIP to KBC Musokotwane.
Yes.
And because they thought that Musokotwane had sold the party to, that is UNIP, to the MMD. He had aligned himself with FT.
So this is not a new thing.
It's not new, of course. So KK had to bounce back, and he supplanted Kelvin Bwalya Fube. There was that division UNIP, which was the strongest opposition party. It happened that way. And when he came back in 1995. Bwalya was supplanted, kicked out of the UNIP presidency. And in 1996, there was that contentious election,
yes,
which barred KK from standing.
Yeah,
Because his
there was a constitution amendment.
there was that constitutional amendment specifically
To
tailored to bar KK from standing. But the biggest mistake UNIP made that time was to boycott the elections, even at parliamentary level. Because UNIP was a strong party. It was the
They
only
literally
party
shot themselves in the leg.
Yes, it was the only party in parliament, opposition party in parliament at that time. NADA was just a baby crying in the woods. They didn't have a parliamentary seat. But UNIP, at that time, when parliament was dissolved by President Chiluba, UNIP had 25 seats. Of course,
and they decided not to.
They decided that because KK has been barred from standing because of the contentious clause, which Kaunda himself called the apartheid clause, he was barred from standing. So when things went to the court, still the court could not act at the right time for KK to participate in the elections. And he was left in the court. UNIP could not stand at parliamentary level. The candidates could not stand, and opposition was weakened. What we saw was overwhelming MMD. It was just an purely MMD parliament. UNIP had lost out until some other time when people like Akashamba Dwambekustelewanika, Mr. Arthur Winner, and Humphrey Mulemba left MMD because of frustrations. They formed the National Party. So the National Party had to scoop some seats, of course, but they still did not have that impact. Of course, they were speaking in Parliament, but they did not.
They couldn't
have that
affect
impact.
anything. They couldn't affect the business of the house
they could not
because they were
affect
outnumbered.
the business. Even bills were just passing.
Yes.
And
So now, looking at the fact that President Edgar Lungu has re-emerged and is now vying for presidency again, and we are seeing it. Some people are saying there is a global wave. We saw it in Brazil, where a former head of state came back, and recently we saw it in America. Donald Trump made a comeback after losing the 2020 election, but he's made a comeback in 2024.
Of course, we're
Could
looking
we
at
say
that.
there is a wave in the world that's going on?
We can say it that way because it's happened in the 1990s when the wall of Berlin fell and Eastern Europe was grabbed or taken over by the capitalist world. It happened that time. And
there was
we saw
effect.
Dictators falling. Yes, there was that wind of change initiated by Gorbachev through reforms that Glasnost and Perestroika that he had introduced. So what I'm saying is this, maybe their viewpoint or their perception is correct, maybe it is wrong. But what I'm saying is the temperaments of the people of Brazil, the temperaments of the people of America could be, even the electoral systems could be different from what we have here. But it's also dependent upon the electorate. It is entirely up to the electorate to choose who should be the best candidate through the ballot and not the bullet. So it is incumbent upon that. He is entitled as a Zambian citizen to do what he wants to do. Get back.
Do you think that's a strong message?
What?
Just saying Wafida Wede, but do you think that's a strong message that will resonate with the
Perhaps he's
average
trying
Zambian?
to build up on his message to convince the Zambians. Because there was the day I read a newspaper where I said Zambians should give me another chance.
Okay.
Because I've learned much from what happened. And I have to be given another chance. But it's up to Zambians.
Okay.
Up to Zambians, yes.
When you look at the messaging of the opposition, do you think their message is resonating with the grassroots?
For my observation, I stand to be corrected. I may be right, I may be wrong. Is that, of course, Lungu has teamed up with quite a number of people. Some of them have got distorted records and they've failed in running their political parties. They are using Kobola Balungu, Balwe Ogului. Okay? We have some, I don't want to mention names, we have some failed apostles who are just clowns in politics, trying to blow the trumpet, of course, for the man who has the experience, of course, as head of state. But I think it is going to be the decision of every Zambian, or Zambians who participate in the elections in 2026 to choose who to vote amongst those who will be candidates, because anything can happen.
When you look at the opposition alliances, when you look at some of the people, these are people that in the past have said not so nice things about each other, and
yes,
they have fought relentlessly against each other. Now they're coming together. Do you see the opposition alliances?
It goes along the line that in politics there are no enemies.
Do you think these alliances will stick?
They always die. They have short lifespan. You look at Raila and his alliance, his national alliance in Kenya. Of course, he had Martha Karua as the running mate, just as the incumbent president of Kenya, Ruto.
William Ruto.
William Samoei Ruto. And the one who was impeached as vice president of Kenya, Gachagua. So there are so many differences when the alliances are there. Because there's jostling. Because Ruto had that alliance, even as a leader of a political party, the UDA, he had alliance parties behind him, backing him. And Raila Omolo Odinga also had the ODM.
Is it because
alliance parties?
Is it because when people come into an alliance, they differ on ideology, or why do you think
they differ on ideology? They differ also on positions to be taken. I must be there. I must be this. I must be that.
So they get into these alliances to benefit themselves. It's
yes,
not about pushing forward an ideology.
But some, of course, may be genuine. There are those who are genuine, but the majority of those who enter into alliances have got a pocket agenda. They have to get something out of the bag of money which comes. So sometimes money comes from the well-wishers, just like it is the case in America. Of course, here in Zambia, there are controls, of course, in the use of party funds. But many have got pocket agendas when they campaign for certain identified candidates who they feel are stronger even to occupy State House. So the agenda is there. Because some of them, they want to get something at the end of the day. Because even those cadres who sing songs and who take people to campaign rallies. They want to benefit. They have to be given food. They have to be given beer. They have to do all sorts of things. So that has become the trend in Africa. Because if somebody has got no money, you can't win elections in Zambia. It's only happened in Kaflafta, where George Mpombo stood on UPND ticket.
Yes.
And defeated the MMD candidate in Kaflafta when Manawasa was president. And Manawasa rebuked, how can a person without money and without even a car defeat a party in government with that government machinery at their disposal? So all these
they're
things...
always outliers.
What?
I'm saying they're always outliers.
Yeah, yes.
There's a possibility
that is it. Yeah, so there are those in maybe in rural areas who are committed to their plight, who are committed to their needs, and they'll vote for such. But here in town, you go to somebody who's going to give you money to buy chibuku. One who attends funerals, because it has become fashionable in our town and many towns around the Gulf Belt, because I've been in a number of districts around here.
It's a PR stunt most of the time.
So it is some kind of criteria followed. Does this one attend funerals? Does this one attend to the sick in the hospital? Is he there when the community is facing problems?
Is it that we do not understand why we elect our elected officials, or why is it that people judge someone's ability to lead based off those things, but that is not even in the job description?
There are higher levels of political illiteracy in our country.
Yes.
Because just as there is illiteracy among the broad masses of this country, but when it comes to civic education, civic literacy, there are lower levels. Many are at lower levels. Few are at certain levels to understand the intricacies of the electoral process and how leaders should be elected and what kind of leaders should be elected. Because in certain countries, people with criminal records can't stand.
Yes.
They are stopped. But like what Professor Horace Wanyika said some time ago, it is on the continent of Africa where we celebrate criminals. And we rejoice when criminals get into certain higher offices, because you know that the loot that they have will be shared with you. But this should not be the case. But I long for the time that our constitution should address and redress this big, huge problem in many parts of Africa. I can't just singularize it right in Zambia, but it is in many parts of Africa. Because those with dubious businesses, those who are drug dealers, they get involved. And that brings to the point the perceived disbandment of the Drug Enforcement Commission.
DC, yeah.
Senior Council.
KBF alluded to the fact that it's a defunct organization. Are you for or against the legalization of marijuana?
You know, that one was started by Keke. Chilova could have done away with it. But he saw the value of that, just like the Anti-Corruption Commission. After Chilova, Manawasa, it continued because, humankind is subtle. And, of course, they say this cannabis can be medicinal.
Yes.
But it has also got its own consequences. I lost a brother who was a heavy, inveterate, rather, tiger smoker. And he became...
Made him cuckoo.
Yes.
What do you say to people who say there is no correlation between someone going nuts and actually...
No, because I interface with psychiatric doctors. They mention smoking can make somebody go bananas.
Even drinking alcohol.
And even drinking alcohol, excess alcohol. Because my nephew also had gone bananas at one point, so I took him.
Sometimes it's hereditary.
It's going to be hereditary in certain cases. So I went to a psychiatric doctor at Ndola Teaching Hospital. He said, he had posed the questions to him. How many cigarettes do you smoke in a day? 10 sticks.
Okay.
What about chibuku sheksheki? How many packets do you consume? He mentioned close to 8. So I said, that can also generate insanity. And someday you find yourself where they dump rubbish, garbage dumps, because of such, because these are dangerous. Now, smoking itself is dangerous.
But you've seen there is a sweeping change across the world.
Yes.
When we criminalized marijuana, the growing, the consumption, even the possession, when we criminalized it, it was because of heavy influence from Western country. But when you look now, the perception has changed. Most Western countries have legalized.
They have legalized in
recreational-
America. Certain states
Yes.
have legalized.
Even the recreational use of marijuana.
They have legalized that, but it also depends on the medical facilities because they have to be at the disposal.
What about just recreational marijuana?
What?
Recreational marijuana. Do you think?
Marijuana. Yeah, that can work in certain cases, but
What about for
when it is
in our case?
excessively used,
In our case here in Zambia, do you think it would be the right policy for us to decriminalize recreational marijuana as a country?
I think it will pose danger. But if it is for exports, like this income bar, as president of that, advocating the Green Party, advocating the use, medicinal use, because there was that emphasis for medicinal use. And somebody said, it was KBF who said, he referred to Kapambwe Mulenga and others, they can't play. But there are tests for drugs when you are footballer.
Performance enhancement drugs are banned in sport.
They ban them. They can't participate in the game, of course. But here, there are no tests, of course. But otherwise, so many are involved in smoking, gaga, before they go onto the pitch. Quite a number of youngsters. But that also ruins the minds. We had a great band called the Tinkers here in the 60s and the early 70s. I interfaced with Big Brother Sani Boyd Stella, Dylan of the bassist, and Isaac Mukunda, the keyboard.
They were a Zamrock band.
It was Zamrock band, the pioneers of Zamrock. So those could do that stuff. But down the road, after so many years, Lot Mali, I'm sorry to say it openly, came to Edinburgh in 1990. We had the swimming pool. I'd gone visiting Big Brother Sani, and Dylan was also there. So Lottie openly with Francis, the lead guitarist at wrote
a joint
on a paper, and they started smoking. Then those Tinkos, former ex-Tinko, the ex-Tinkos member, Sani and Dylan said, look at what they're doing there. No. We have been through that. That is dangerous. Because sometimes you would feel that you're not yourself. You're just something else and you could do weird things.
Yes.
So for the sake of maybe reducing on the higher levels of psychiatric cases in this country, I think, for medicinal purposes, recommended by doctors, that can work. Even those, of course, who are known to be hardworking when they are on that stuff, perhaps if there is something that is given a stamp of legitimacy or sanctioned by law, they can be allowed to do what is required. But for now, I feel that the DEC is still a vital institution, although it has been abused at times and misused, but it is a vital institution within the framework of the Republic of Zambia as a government is there. So that is very vital. The Drug Enforcement Commission should continue. But if KBF and this group would come in and allow for that, it is up to how the Zambians are going to take it. And even the church, what is the stand of the church on that? Yeah, because there are differences. Some would agree that it is all right.
Talking about the church and politics, we've seen the church, especially the Catholic in recent times, really get involved in issues to do with politics. Do you think the church should actively be involved in political matters in our country?
You know, politics come from the word polity. And polity has much to do with people. Because even sermons that the priests, the pastors, the bishops, the apostles, the prophets mention them. The sermons they deliver to the congregations has got some political implications and connotations, of course. But it also depends on how you look at politics, because Julius Nyerere said politics is an attitude of the mind. Because when a baby is crying for food, the baby is protesting. He wants that attention to be given to him. The boy would be taken to be politicking.
Yes.
Even when you ask your father, you don't have shoes to wear at school, you don't have books, you have to go. No, I want this. You cry for such. And somebody said that is part of politics. Because when you look at politics, you look at the term polity. It has to do with the society and the people. So these churches can be a mouthpiece in order to have sanity in politics, other than madness, of course, where policy has been taken to be for instigation of violence, harassing people. You know, it is really stupid, I would say, for people to fight each other when they're Zambians, on account of being in different political parties. They slaughter each other, they axe each other. It doesn't make sense.
You've talked about how the problems that we're facing as a country are not just in Zambia, but they cut across the whole African continent. And you've really mentioned a lot of things that we can do differently, starting from how we can look at our economy and the empowerment of the young people differently. But what is the most pragmatic thing that we can do today to ensure that we get ourselves on that path?
It's a political will from the government, which should translate into economic will. Because, you know, you can't develop the skills of the younger ones without supporting them. After they finish, you are a degree holder, you graduated from the university.
Yes.
And there came a time when the world became small because you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
But through creativity and thinking outside the box, you thought of doing things to enlighten the public. Starting out with the Road FM, you were there. Yeah. And today you are part of this radio station.
At the beginning, you know where the problem was? At the beginning, I cannot lie. There were years when I was frustrated and I was depressed. And then even pivoting and getting into media is not something that I chose. It's something that happened to me. I ran out of options. And I realized I can talk to people. Why don't I lean into this?
Yes.
Because it's very hard to find employment in our country if you don't know the right people. That we've been at it for a while now. It's always a pleasure when I have you on set because you are a vessel of knowledge, and I always enjoy sitting down and talking to you about pertinent issues that are affecting our day-to-day lives. So in under a minute, what are your concluding remarks?
My concluding remarks is that Zambia will be developed by Zambians, of course with the support of creditor nations, but we should not dwell much under the taint of the IMF and the World Bank. We need to mature after 60 years of nationhood, 60 years of independence, but we're still working at the horsey-baggy pace. No. We have to run and make Zambia stand on the mountain top, like a city built on a hill. Ronald Reagan spoke about the United States of America. We have to be on the mountain top, see what is happening in the valley, get down to the valleys and transform the valley, make the roads that are crooked straight, and break the hills that hinder people from having prosperity because they are down the gutters of poverty. So that is what we should know, that it is not the white man, it's not the European, it's not the Chinese that will develop this country to our expectations. It is us Zambians who should take it upon ourselves. We should take the gauntlet and move with it and transform this country. We have potentialities, we have got everything, all the minerals mentioned them, they are in this land. Why is it the majority of our people suffer poverty when they're supposed to be on the mountain top of prosperity? So, Zambian youths, you hold the key to economic transformation and economic freedom. Kaunda, Kapwepwe, Kamanga, and all those freedom matriarchs and patriarchs are envisioned for this great nation called Zambia. Africa is our motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hands. We've got all the resources. Let us, our people, join us. We must be one Africa. We must be one people. Despite opposition politics, let us still stand as one strong nation building Zambia.